Well, it's been kind of undercover for the last few days. I've been working on a new soundboard. It's a DF player mini, they call it. It plays MP3s. It's very limited. It only has like 5 sounds, and they're all different. And you can do different things with this thing, but it's inexpensive. It has a good loud amplifier, and you can use it with remote. What I have are my buttons, A and B, radio controlled, to a radio receiver. And what we want to do is from that receiver go into sort of a blob that has infrared senders and receivers, emitters and receivers, or emitters and detectors, I guess is proper terminology. And that's what I've tested up here, where I have that's the receiver, the emitter's down there. It's getting power from the radio control, and then the pulse that it receives goes into this WeMOS soundboard. But I needed something smaller, a lot smaller, to fit on some of the smaller engines. And the best thing I could think of was this board, which you can program with this memory, thumb memory thing. You can put in different sounds, and as you can see, there's a pair of wires coming out one end and the other end of this block. And what I've done is I've kind of gone into my system here and created I'm not sure what you call it, sort of like a manifold. But you can stick 2 of those infrared LEDs in facing each other, and then they're in a light constrained environment so that nothing else can see and talk to them. And so the sensors, I had them out, but I've actually used them. So let's see if I have something here. Yeah, there you can see. The darker ones are the receivers and the clear ones are the emitters, and they're just LEDs, very tiny, but they fit inside this block. They face each other, so I have 2 in there right now. If I pull this out, you can see the wires on the other side. They're facing each other. And then what I would do is have this fellow, the radio board, plugged in. It gets 5 volts in ground. Then you trigger it by hitting, say, the A button, and the A button would be wired into one of the emitters. The receiver gets it, and he goes over to the sound, and the sound has its own connectivity. Here you'll see input 1 and 2 and a ground, and or an add key, they call it, is another way. And there's several ways you can play it, but I'm doing it in the absolute most simplest way. Speaker comes out on 6 and 8, power goes in on 1, ground is 10. So you're using ground and 11 to play the sounds through a button. Well, I don't want to use a button, I want to use a remote, and that's what the radio is. It's a remote button, so to speak. So I'm building my own little sensor, and this is just a perf board. You can build a circuit with it, simple, running wire. But I'm probably going to have to get with Andy on, I'm going to have to get with Andy on this and see what he can come up with in the way of a small PC board, because the other part of what I'm doing here is working on the packaging. That's what brings this all about, right? There's a platform for a tender, and I've got some mounting spots for it. This would be for the motor controller, and this would be for the WeMOS if we use that. But I'm thinking what I might do is design this board to fit into that same space, plop that down. This plops in here. Out on this end is where we put the power distribution. That's the 2 rectifiers and all the ins and outs for power. So power is routed from here, and down here. Then I have this other side here on top and on the bottom that I can use for speakers and rectifiers and not rectifiers, regulators, volt regulators and such as that. I may end up turning this last bit vertical so I can mount those boards vertical. We'll see how big this takes. And I initially designed this for the WeMOS, but I found that there's just too much going on. In the smaller, more basic designs, I just need a couple of sounds. I could get as many as 4, I guess, out of here, but 2 I think is a good start for us. And this is what has been on my mind. One of the things was wiring it up so it worked, and I did that. I did that on a perf board. Here it is here, where I had my own little power 5-volt power supply. I brought it in. I had a relay. I put the soundboard in. I put the radio controller in, and I was able to demonstrate to myself and to Andy that I could push a button and play sounds off of a speaker, and it was good. You could hear it. It was loud enough. So now what I'm trying to do is figure out how to build this circuit. I can't use this big thing and this big thing, so I got to find where can I get the 5 volts. How can I size this to the smallest possible thing? And that's when I came up with this idea. I just call it the IR sensor blob. I don't know. I can expand it out to 4. If I do 4, that would work with the WeMOS because he has 4 sounds besides chuff. Right now I only have the 2 sounds. It'd be either a whistle and bell, or whistle and a station announcement, or maybe the whistle and an all aboard call out. Don't know yet. Still toying with it. But at any rate, I wanted to give you guys some updates. I know one fellow wrote, "Say, you okay? Haven't seen or heard anything." Oh yeah, I'm fine. I've kind of been thinking. So this is what I've been thinking about. Building this so that it fits in tenders, coming up with a sound system for the basic version of the next gen level 1. And I've been also working on a couple of other special projects. I have a K5 with a CAN motor I'm trying to build a firebox for, and I think I finally got that figured out. And I'm going to work on those details here after I get done with this. But I wanted to get this set up. I wanted to share it with you guys, let you know what's going on, where we're coming from, and why sometimes I'm silent for a few days. And it's time for lunch now, so I'll talk to you later. Bye.